I've been asked to make a video about pendulums, and as you can see I have a pendulum here. Now, a pendulum is anything which leads to a point, is weight, and has either a chain or a cord coming off it. And the best way to connect the cord or the chain to the pendulum is, as you've seen it here, as a single connection, unlike a necklace, which a lot of people use, where it's threaded through a point, so it actually has two strings hanging off it. They recommend that just a fixed attached connection is better for a pendulum. Now, if all you happen to have is a necklace, obviously you need to have a stronger point than this one. I'm just using this one for example. Instead of using it with the chain fed through it, what you can actually do is take your clasp and attach it to the pendant with the point on it, so that you now have a single chain on it rather than have it using it with the chain threaded through it. Right, so the first thing you need to do is you need to calibrate your pendulum. As with all spiritual practices, I advise ground, attune, protect, and permission. So you first off ground your energy. Protect can be your power animal, your spiritual guides, your deity, whoever it is that you connect with for protection when you're doing spiritual work. Your attunement in this case is with the pendulum itself, so you're going to ask to connect to the energy of the pendulum, and also to your guides that you use when you're working with the pendulum, depending on what you're asking for. If it's to read the chakras of a person you're giving healing to, then you're connecting with your healing guides, and you're asking that the pendulum speak with truth and honesty, and that all the information you're given is the information that you need. And then permission for me is like spiritual karma. You can't force anything onto somebody, and you can't ask questions about people you haven't got permission from. So if somebody asked you about a family member or about a spouse, and the information they were asking doesn't directly link to the person themselves, so for example, if they were asking a question about their partner that doesn't relate to them, then that is something that you don't have permission for. But if they were asking you what they should get, or should they get something for their partner's birthday, like a specific something, then that's a question you could answer with your pendulum. One thing I would say to you is don't ask serious questions with the pendulum. So anything that has severe consequences or potentially severe consequences, because with spiritual matters, especially when you read for yourself, your mind can come into play, and because your energy within yourself is what connects to the pendulum and what affects the pendulum to move with a yes or no answer. You're essentially reading your own intuition, your own guidance, your inner guidance, to get the answers that you're looking for. So if you really desperately want the answer to be yes in your mind, then you potentially could control the pendulum to give you a yes answer. So that's why it's important that you just use the pendulum for simple questions. For example, here we have a grid of crystals. So in one we've got clear quartz, we've got rose quartz, we've got opalite, we've got amethyst, we've got sodalite, and we have blue lace agate. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to ask which crystal I need for today, and that's what the grid means. You'll see down the bottom that there's also the option for no, a combination, or something else. So the first thing, like I said, I'm going to do is I'm going to start by calibrating it. And how we do that is you hold the pendulum as close to the end as you can. Now, the way I was shown to do it by a lady who had been using it for years and years, I think she's probably clocked up about 37 or 38 years experience as a fortune teller and using things like pendulums. So she's a very knowledgeable woman. And the way she showed me to do it was you pass it over the top of your finger and you let it hang freely. Now, try and keep your hand as steady as you can. I'll just move that a wee bit so you can see it. And you want to tell the pendulum to stop. As you can see, naturally, my hand isn't going to stay steady. So there will be a couple of little kind of movements from time to time because I'm not a robot, basically. But you want to try and keep your hand as steady. You want to only let your energy influence the pendulum rather than, physically shaking it to move. So we're going to say stop. You're going to wait till it's still. And now I'm going to ask it to show me yes. Right, stop. Is moving left to right? Yes. Stop. Show me. Stop. You can see even just talking can influence it. Show me no. Apparently it doesn't want to show me no. Right. Show me no. Don't know if you can see that. Now it's moving in a anti-clockwise direction, which is really interesting because I did a practice run of this and it was the complete opposite. The swaying back and forward was no and the anti-clockwise was yes. But that's just reversed for me. And that's another good point, and maybe that's why these things happen. You should always check the calibration of your pendulum. So even though you may have used it for 100 days and for 100 days anti-clockwise was yes and clockwise was no, or swaying back and forward was yes and going in a circle was no, whatever the case may be, if it doesn't feel right, if something just doesn't feel, feels off slightly, or it's not giving you the readings you would expect, then what I would always do is first sage it or use incense on it or call in your guides to clear it for you. So you're clearing out the energy of the object. It may be that the question you're asking is the wrong question to ask. It may be that it's not the right time for you to know the answer to the question, or there is no answer to the question yet. So what I would generally do if that's the case is I would set it a test. So I would ask it to show me yes, I would ask it to show me no. And then I would ask it specific questions like, is my name Orla? Is my name Bob? Am I 76? Do I live in Inner Mongolia? The questions that have definitive answers. Do I have a sister? Do I have a brother? Is my mum and dad alive? Questions that are very definitive. And it should give you yes or no answers. It'll either work for you or it won't, in that could be all over the place, or it'll give you the definitive answers. So for whatever reason that puts it all over the place, What I would do is, if it isn't giving you straightforward answers, there's a reason for it. Either you're not in the right space, or the energy isn't right, or something's not right. So I would come away from it, and it's just not going to play with you that day. Remember that it's just a tool. I mean, you can use anything as a pendulum as long as there's a point and it's got a string on it that it can swing freely. So it's not about the object as such, although this is a very pretty crystal pendulum and specifically designed to be a pendulum. What I would say to you is that it's reading your energy. It's just a tool. So either its energy needs to be cleared, or your energy needs to be cleared, or you're not in the right headspace to do it. So sometimes it's just a case of you need to take a step back from it, and maybe coming back in an hour, 2 hours, or the next day, and trying it again is the right time to do it. So just be aware the whole time that if something doesn't feel right, then it's not right. Okay, especially with a pendulum. And I know that sounds very negative. If something's not right, it's no right. But what I mean by that isn't there's something bad out there. It's just that there's something about the question, or there's something about the answer which isn't right. So it could just be a case of you need to change the question. I know we were just talking about calibrating it, but when you're actually getting into the nitty gritty of asking it questions, it's very possible that you've asked the wrong question. For example, the easiest one, or the most obvious one I can think of, is where a lady has been married and she's changed her name. So if you ask, is the lady's name her maiden name, the pendulum might be all over the place, because it has been her name in the past, but it's not now her name. So say, for example, you were doing that for somebody who you knew from school, but you don't know what their current situation is. That could give you a misfired reading. So you think that it's a definitive answer. So you think by asking, is that her name, but you're giving her full name. But the pendulum's going, well, that's no longer her name, but it was her name. So it's not a yes or no answer, if that makes sense. That's maybe not an example that you would use specifically, but it shows you how there can be ambiguity in the answer, so that it's not a clear yes or no. Okay, so to move on, here we have the simple grid. And with this, you could use this to ask about a client. You could use it to ask about yourself. What I'm going to do today is I'm going to ask which crystal I need to use the most. So you've got 6 crystals here. I'll rephrase that. It's not which crystal I would like to use the most. It's which crystal I should use the most. It's which crystal do I need the most today. So you'll see at the bottom, you've got none, you've got combination, and you've got something else. So what that basically covers you for, we'll see when I go around what comes out. Maybe I'll be drawn to one crystal, maybe I'll be drawn to all 6. And then at the bottom, it'll either say none of these are right for me, so I'm not to have a crystal with me today. A combination of them, so there's more than one crystal I need, or something else, meaning that there's another crystal that I need for today. So just to recap, moving back and forward was the yes, and moving in an anti-clockwise direction was the no. So we're just going to start with the clear quartz. Now, at all times, you need to get it to a standpoint so that it's standing still. I'm just trying to adjust the light for you so you can see it better. There we go. And I'm also trying to show you my hand so you can see that I'm doing my best to, you'll see for when I move across to the other ones. Right, so there it is stopped. Do I need this crystal today? Right, it doesn't know. Okay, to ask the question correctly. Do I need to carry this crystal with me today? There we go. So it's a yes. No, it's a no. That's a no, isn't it? It's a no for the clear quartz. Right, stop. Do I need this crystal? Do I need to carry this crystal with me today? So I think that's a yes. Stop. Do I need to carry this crystal with me today? That seems to be a yes as well. Do I need to carry this crystal with me today? No for the opalite. Just trying to get a better angle on the light for you. Right, the amethyst, stop. Do I need to carry this with me today? Sorry, I'm swaying a bit. Stop. Do I need to carry this crystal with me today? That's a yes for the amethyst. Right, stop. Do I need to carry the blue lace agate with me today? And that's a yes for the blue lace agate. Right. Stop. Should I carry none of these with me today? Right, so none, a no for the none. Should I carry, stop. Should I carry a combination with me today? Yes for the combination. And stop. Do I need to carry any other crystals with me today? No. Perfect. Right, so you can see there what happened. It was the clear quartz, the rose quartz, the amethyst, and the blue lace agate that it said that I should have with me. And then when I've gone to the bottom, I've asked it, should I have none? Do I need a combination, or do I need something else? Now, you've seen that it said no for the none, so obviously it's confirming that yes, it has picked crystals for me. The combination is just another way of confirming that there was more than one crystal picked. Now, it could also be, for example, if only one crystal came out, you might get a combination, which means that there's another crystal which wasn't there. So when it goes to something else, it would have said yes to the something else. Also, if none of the crystals had been picked and it went for a combination, and then it went for something else, that means that I need to carry more than one crystal with me, and it's not one of the ones that are there. So it's just a nice way of having a confirmation at the end that yes, it's picked the right things, and yes, it's all bases are covered. So you're not just assuming that there's only 6 crystals in the world, or there's only 6 crystals that can help you, or that I only have 6 crystals that I could carry about with me. So it's nice to have that wee confirmation at the end. Now, like I said at the start, you can control it, so it's giving you the answer that you would expect, but I promise you that's not what I've done here. There were a couple of times, and you'll have seen me there, where obviously I'm watching my camera for the video, trying to play with the light and use the pendulum at the same time, without leaving you long pauses in between. So there was a little bit more movement that I had when I was doing that than perhaps I would have had if I was just doing it without trying to record it at the same time, and which is why when I did feel myself, my physical body swaying with it, I stopped and reset it to go again. So that's something to be aware of. Try to be aware of your whole surroundings, not just focused on the pendulum itself. One of the ways in which you can use a pendulum is for healing and for working with chakras. So what you could do is ask it, instead of asking it yes and no, ask it what is the symbol for overactive and what is the symbol for underactive. And then what you would do is, as your client or your patient's lying out on your Reiki bed, or your spiritual healing bed, your massage bed, wherever you have them, your couch, your bed in the bedroom, wherever, then just like we've done there with the grid, stop over where each chakra is, feel for it. Is it showing you overactive? Is it showing you underactive? Move to the next one, do the same all the way down until you've covered the 7 chakras, or the main 7 chakras that are used in healing. Feel what's underactive, feel what's overactive, and then, or feel, you could ask a simple yes or no, so you don't have to ask if it's underactive or overactive. You could ask it, do you need to work on this chakra? Do you need to balance this chakra? So that it's a simple yes or no answer for the person. So just to recap, make sure you calibrate it as often as you can. When I was originally shown it the first time, I was told to calibrate it every single time I use it. So before you actually start working with it, ask it a yes and no, see if it's changed. Ask it the test questions that you know the definitive answers to. Be aware of what you are asking it. So don't ask it any serious questions in the respect of life-changing answers, because your mind will come into play with that. Even if it's for somebody else, you'll want the best for them. So the answer you give will be what you think they want to hear, or what you think is best for them, rather than letting your energy decide. Try to keep your hand as still as you possibly can when you're doing it, but naturally, like I joked, we're not robots, so you're not going to keep it perfectly still. And what I would also say to you is, don't be afraid to challenge the answers that you get. So just because you pick up a yes or a no answer for something, if it doesn't feel right to you or you don't want to follow it, then do you know what? You've got free will and it's your choice what you want to do with it. I would also really stress that a pendulum is for entertainment values. It's not for it's not a hardcore answer. It's not going to give you perfect yes and no's every single time, because like I say, your mind does come into play, which is why it's important not to use it for important questions. It is just a tool. You can use anything with a point on the end of a string, on the end of a chain, as I've said. So it's not the pendulum that's doing the reading, it's you that's doing the reading. It's like working with cards, it's like working with healing. You're using your own energy, your own connection with spirit, your own connection with whoever it is that you connect with, which is doing the giving the answers. It's not the physical pendulum itself. So although you're using the pendulum to read those answers, so I would err on the side of caution with the questions that you ask it. But asking it something like what crystals to carry for the day is perfectly fine. Asking what colour you should wear to an interview is perfectly fine. Asking should I go, any sort of day-to-day simple questions that you can't make a decision on, or you think you can't make a decision on, are that have a simple yes or no answer to them, are okay to do with the pendulum. But I have seen people use it in the past to ask serious life-changing questions, and then when time's played out and it's been proven wrong, people are left disillusioned and they're left kind of questioning the meaning of everything, when the answers they were given hasn't played out. So what I would say to you is the more you become comfortable with your pendulum, the more you use your pendulum and are comfortable with how it works, the better your answers will be, the more you'll be able to read the energy, and the more you'll be able to get the answers straight away or quicker than normal. But like I say, I would recommend that if anything feels off, you first look at the question. Did I ask the right question? Did I ask it correctly? Then look at the pendulum itself. Does its energy need cleared? Then look at yourself and think, right, okay, well, what did I not do? What do I need to do? Do I need a clearing? Do I need to be saged? Am I in the right headspace? Am I in the right... if you're feeling anxious or you're feeling frustrated or you're annoyed about something, that wouldn't be a productive headspace to work energetically with. So it could be an environment, maybe there's noise round about you which is irritating you. There's maybe arguments that have happened in the room where you're doing it. Just general day-to-day life stuff which can throw it off, or throw you off rather. So just be aware of your environment, be aware of what's going on, and most of all, enjoy what you're doing with it. Enjoy your pendulum, and enjoy having fun with it. So have a blessed day, and namaste.